Hello there, Parth Sharma this side bringing you the top 15 games played by Garry Kasparov. Do take time to like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. If you are already subscribed, then do press the bell icon for future notifications. And if you like my work, then you can support me on Patreon and PayPal. The links are in the description because your support is my motivation which keeps me going. So we have looked at games 15, 14 and 13. Now it's time to look at my favorite game number 12, and this was the game from the 1995 World Chess Championship match between Garry Kasparov, the champion, and his challenger Viswanathan Anand from India. And the game that I would be showing you was game 13 from the match. And before this game, Kasparov was leading 2 games to 1. So let's have a look. Anand is white, Kasparov is black. So we are looking at from black side. And Anand opens with e4, c5 Sicilian, knight f3, d6, d4, cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3. And Kasparov always plays knight off, doesn't he? He plays this knight off, a6. No, in this game he plays dragon, g6. And this was the same variation that he played in the game 11 of this match. And we're looking at game 13. And before game 11 he was exclusively playing knight off. And it was in game 11 that he diverted to dragon variation. And he won game 11, and this is game 13 of the match, of the World Championship match, the PCA World Championship match, the so-called the rebel organization formed by Garry Kasparov. So Anand continues with bishop e3, bishop g7, queen d2, probably preparing to castle queen side, knight c6, f3, castles, and bishop c4. This is so-called the Yugoslav attack of dragon. To counter the dragon, the bishop comes to c4, bishop d7 by Kasparov, and now Anand pushes his king side pawns, h4, attacking the king, but Kasparov shuts it down with h5, and bishop b3, bishop tucking back, rook c8, and now in game 11 he castled on queen side, but here in this game he took the knight on c6. Now this was pretty much surprising because Anand, at this point, this is move number 12, Anand was consuming a lot of time, so which meant that he wasn't comfortable, and after those blows in game 10 and game 11 he wasn't his own self, and yeah, it was tough times for someone who was playing his first ever World Chess Championship match. So Kasparov takes with his b pawn, and now bishop h6 to exchange this good bishop of black with his poor bishop, or I should say his dark square bishop. Then comes c5 with the threat of trapping this bishop on c4. So first he plays bishop c4 to come out of that, and now queen b6, a very subtle move, and it can be dangerous in a long run because if you castle here, then there can be threats on this b2 pawn, and which is already loose in this position. Anand takes the pawn on g7, takes the bishop on g7, king takes, and now he plays b3, and suddenly this reveals some loose points in the position. These dark squares are weakened around this, which means that this king, if castles queenside, still won't be safe because of this open file taken by this queen. And once this a pawn starts to run through, then things can turn really dangerous for white. And here Anand must have expected moves like e6 or maybe rook fe8, but this move surprises Anand the most, and that was bishop e6. Brilliant move by Kasparov, and we're gonna see the logic behind this move. So Anand wasn't happy with this bishop sitting here on e6, so he plays knight d5, try to exchange everything on d5. Kasparov takes the knight with his bishop on d5, e takes d5, and suddenly this pawn on e7 looks really weak. A possible target, pretty much I would say a vulnerable target here with this pawn sitting on d5. There aren't any pawns that can attack this bishop, and not only that, this bishop is sitting really well on c4, stopping this pawn uh, advancing and creating a lot more weaknesses on the queen side. So the structure looks stable. Anand must have felt comfortable in this position, but here comes a move that really stuns Anand to the core, and to the core that meant you will see the consequence what happens after that. e5, brilliant move by Kasparov. What does this do? The weakness of e7 suddenly disappears, and there isn't any weak point that white can target in this position. And already position looks really tremendous, especially in the center of the board, controlling these two squares. And whereas the white here, this pawn doesn't look too much threatening, which it was if this black pawn was on e7. Suddenly position is transformed, and this really took Anand aback, and he didn't deal with it really well. Probably he could have continued the game by castling on king side and try to bring this rook to e1 to just forget about it. And since, although I should say that there aren't any white knight to also target, and not to forget the dark square bishop was traded off here, so the position still looks vulnerable for white. But after castling it, the position could have been playable. But here Anand was somewhat, as I said, taken aback, and he didn't deal with the threat quite well, and he plays d takes e6 en passant capture, and simply would have expected that he would take the pawn back, or possibly try to bring the rook back and to take the pawn. But no, here was another brilliant answer by Kasparov. d5, brilliant move, and another move that stuns Anand. And it isn't easy to deal with this. If you take, then rook takes pawn, and rooks are ready to double on the e file with this king in the center of the board. Really shaky. And if you take the pawn with your bishop, well, this doesn't work indeed, because rook fd8, and if you castle queenside, then f takes e6 wins the bishop. Bishop is pinned. Sad stuff for white. So realizing this, Anand here plays bishop e2, and here comes an incredible move by Kasparov. I was very stunned, and Kasparov was impressed by his next move. He played c4, and he remarked, "I've never played a move which stops castling on the both sides of a chessboard." It's incredible the way Kasparov was saying that stopping castling here. Of course, the queen controls that square, so white cannot castle king side. And if you long castle, well, this is not good, because after c takes, a takes, queen takes, the pawn is pinned, and suddenly this queen side is wide open, and this king looks really shaky on the queen side. So after c4, the best move would have been to play just rook d1, and Kasparov would have had nothing better than to just take the pawn on e6, and then white castles, and then c3, queen d3, d4, rook f e1. The position is still somewhat, I would say, okayish, but still playable position. White, if played accurately, could be able to hold this game. Also, not to forget that there is this hole on d3, which this knight can come to this hole, but still the position with accurate play could have been holdable. And after this move c4, Anand plays c3, hoping that maybe after f takes, and then he can play queen d4, and everything will be sorted. And the position doesn't look really bad at all for white here, especially even you can give the pawn, but like that, but still the position would be playable. However, after c3, which turns out to be the mistake, Anand misses this beautiful reply. Again, it's pretty amazing that the way I'm continuously repeating beautiful, 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 and such was this game. He plays rook c e8, just putting down everything here, and again, if you take, then this rook takes, and everything is ready to double at the on the e file. Anand in desperation takes the pawn on c4, but then comes rook takes e6, and there is already a threat uh, at this bishop. So this bishop is pinned. The main threat is to play rook f to e8 and winning this piece. So Anand plays king f1, and this king is looking really ugly, which means that he won't be able to castle either here or here, and it is in the right in the middle of the board. So, so that's why they say castle ASAP, and you can understand the reason why do they say. So Kasparov plays rook f e8, attacking the bishop. Anand plays bishop d3, and here Kasparov thought for some time. He thought for about 12 minutes on this position, and he comes up with this. D takes c4. The bishop is attacked. Bishop has to take it, and a brilliant finishing touch. Knight e4, brilliant move. And this was the move that after this move, Anand just resigned the game. The picture was so hopeless. He wrote knight e4 and he was dangling his pen on the score sheet. And for a moment, I became really teary when I saw that. When writing knight e4 and his pen was just dangling, and just couldn't believe what took place. He really felt crushed. And after this move, knight e4, Anand resigned game number 13, and he was -2 after losing game 10 and game 10, game 11, and game 13. Okay, the knight is hanging, and also the queen is attacked. By the way, queen is attacked and knight g3 mate is threatened, and Kasparov puts this knight en prise. So what happens if you take the knight? Well, there comes this beautiful variation. Rook f6 check, king e1, rook takes e4 check, bishop e2, queen f2 check, king d1, and rook takes e2. And this is a beautiful variation. The queen cannot take the rook because rook d6 will win the queen. And what happens? What else do we have? After knight e4, let's say if he plays queen e1, defending this checkmate like that. But then comes rook d6, threatening knight d2 check, the discovered attack. And if white takes the knight, then comes rook f6 check. King e2 is the only viable move, and then rook takes e4, the skewer takes the queen. Another option after knight e4 is to play queen d4 check. Well, what happens after that? The queens are traded off and it comes with check. But then the problem is queen takes d4, pawn takes queen, and knight d2 check picks up this bishop on c4. And everything is hopeless here. Nothing to be done. We all saw what would happen if pawn takes knight. And when you see this move and the expression of Anand after this knight e4, it was like the end of the world. And obviously if queen moves anywhere, queen e3 would be hanging. If queen moves to say d3, then queen f2 is mate, not to forget that. Oh, so sad, so sad. And yeah, Kasparov went on to win the next game as well, and rest of the 4 games were drawn, and Kasparov retained the World Chess Championship in 1995. But that gave the Indian gem a chance to reflect on himself and to realize that what went wrong and how can he rectify them in further World Championships matches if he qualifies in them. So that was a beautiful game by Garry Kasparov at number 12. And if you are Anand fan, well, just tolerate me for a few games that might be here and there. I do not know, but yeah, if you're talking about Garry Kasparov, then this is one of his greatest wins. So yeah, that was game number 12. I hope you liked my video. I hope you liked my analysis. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Cheers. Bye.